MSU coach Casey Lubahn. You've been at the school for what, 13 years now at
Yeah,
MSU?
14, I think. It's been a while now.
Oh, wow. Well, I'll tell you what, tell us about the state of MSU men's golf.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Roy. It's been a good stretch for us. We've been in 8 of the last 9 NCAA tournaments, trending towards making a ninth out of 10 here this year. Had a U.S. amateur champion, had a Canadian amateur champion. A lot of things that we can hang our hats on. But college athletics is evolving and changing, as we all know, and I think we're at the front edge of it here. But it's been a nice run for us, and we got great kids and obviously great facilities, great culture. So just looking forward to a fun spring season.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the changing culture of college athletics in just a few moments. You just came off the Bridgestone Invitational out there in Napa, California. What was that experience like for you and the student athletes?
Yeah, very neat tournament. One of the most diverse fields in all of college golf. You got the Japanese national teams basically, and then a lot of HBCU representation, some Power Five schools. It was an event that kind of filled in. We had a hurricane event in the fall, cancel our last event, so we filled this event in. We got to play there 2 years in a row. Didn't play as well as I thought we had been playing, but we got 3 freshmen that are mattering a whole lot, and 2 sophomores, and transferred his first semester. So we're finding our way. Last month has been pretty good, but the next month has to be better.
Now, collegiately, taking a look, I think is it the Mizuno top 10 uh, or top 20 for men? I make
Yeah,
sure I have that
top
right.
25. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Strixon.
top
Yeah,
25. Yeah, I'm trying to master all these different polls for all these
I
different
got you.
sports. But Illinois comes in at number 11. Usually your team is in there somewhere. What's it going to take for Michigan State to get back in there?
I think we're like 65th in the country now. We're probably the 6th or 7th seed in the Big Ten. Um, Been a weird year for us, and we flipped over the whole roster, basically 3 starters from last year, brought in 4 freshmen, brought them in transfer, so 5 new guys out of 8 that are going for us. And that was all tricky enough until our best player, Ashton McCulloch, who is one of the best players in the world, played in the U.S. Open last summer at Pinehurst. He's ranked 15th in college golf. He went down with a season-ending injury in January. And so from there on, it kind of felt like it was going to be a little bit of a rebuild as we got all these freshmen and sophomores acclimated. But they won one of the biggest events of my career 3 weeks ago and have been steady the last 2 weeks. So we just got to keep growing. We got to grow while we're going here. A little different than what we see often is there's a process to it. Well, these freshmen need to skip a lot of steps if they're going to be competitive and help us contend for a championship.
Yeah, I did not realize that McCullough had went down. Let's talk for just a moment about your team from 3 weeks ago. Let's do a little Spartan brag bag there.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's a good thing to talk about right now. It was a fun one. We outside of hosting the Folds of Honor, we also host 2 other events. One in Florida in October, and then the Colleton River Collegiate, which we host the first couple days of March. Teams from all across the country. It's become one of the great events of college golf, and for us to be able to win there for the third time with basically a bunch of rookies was phenomenal. We kind of blew the field away coming down the stretch. And I think that really turned this season from a rebuild into we're back to being a contender. It was a big win for me, to beat Coach Fossum's record with the most wins here by any coach at MSU. So a
That's
special
saying something right there.
thank you. Yeah, it was a special stretch. And I've been blessed to have so many good players and so many good assistant coaches and so many great donors that's how that all gets done.
Now, it's, I mean, that's obviously fantastic. I think a lot of people are really paying attention to the Spartan men's golf program, and you can hang your hat with Ashton and also with James Piot. And you've also got some other players that have been top notch. Why don't you brag on a couple? Or is there a couple that you're still talking to all the time and they're coming back and maybe either helping you recruit or at least being a part of the Spartan program?
Absolutely. I think having been here for the better part of 20 years now, Ryan Brem, who I worked with on tour when we won in Puerto Rico, you know, watching these kids. I'm now they're 18. Ryan Brem's going to be 39 here next week and playing PGA Tour and the Corn Ferry Tour. Matt Harmon, Jack Newman. We've had two guys playing the Masters, multiple guys playing major championships. They see this as their program. So when we won a few weeks ago, there was a big group chain with all of those guys, and they feel like they started something, and it's our job to continue it. And that's very similar to what you see with Coach Izzo. If you have a great experience playing college athletics, you're going to take it with you the rest of your life. And as we get into a transfer portal NIL world, I worry we're going to miss out on what's really important, and that's the relationships that make every program, every department, every university go.
Yeah, I want to go there in just a moment. I do want to stop for just a second on Ryan Brem. I think he was at the Rocket Mortgage in 2023 is the last time I talked to him. I talked to him in a little scrum after the round, and he was beaming about the MSU Spartans men's program because I think he kind of feels like he's got somewhat of a legacy uh, in that. And I think you'd probably agree.
No doubt. I mean, obviously, I've spent 5 years of my life. Well, he's one of my best friends in the world besides that, but 5 years of my life traveling with him on the PGA Tour and coaching this team at the same time. When being before that era, I played from '01 to '04. There was some quite lean years in there for 15 years. And I think some teams I played on kind of got going that allowed us to get a Matt Harmon, then a Ryan Brem. And, when you see James Pyatt win the US Amateur, you see Ashton McCulloch, who by any measure is the highest ranked player we've ever had. They link together. So Ashton qualifies for the Canadian Open last year. Well, we set up the practice round with Ryan Brem. And watching that interaction, what a proud moment for a coach. I got to coach both those players 15 years apart, and to see them sharing their Spartan experience while they're traveling
Yeah.
PGA Tour is incredibly special.
Yeah, I know that um, James, he went to, I think it was the Ally Challenge, and Jack Nicklaus was there that day, and I think that Jack, had a few private moments with him, which I think he'll probably cherish forever, and to be in a presence of, in my opinion, the GOAT, but well, there's several people that are the GOAT depending on who's talking. So
Sure.
that must have been a really special moment for you as well. Taking a look at the nil going on, I have a resort. Um, down at the French Lick Resort down in Indiana. They sent me a press release a few months ago. I haven't even published it yet, but I'm going to. I know that they're sponsoring Indiana Golf. Is something like that in the works for MSU, or is it already there? Or they are helping to sponsor some of the players and helping to recruit people to their university? Do you have that here at MSU?
We do. We are blessed at Michigan State. We have two collectives that support the athletes. As a coach, I'm really very much outside of that. They do their own separate deals, but all our kids do receive some NIL support, and then a lot of them, if they hustle and they work hard, or they're a top player like Ashton is, they have their own separate deals. As we go into this new settlement now with the NCAA, will yet to be determined how that will affect the standard college player. I mean, the elite ones are always going to have opportunities in corporate America, whatever. But the standard player who is using that nil money to help them pay for room, board, books, tuition, all those things, we're worried they may be impacted by the new changes. Because, as we bring NIL in-house here, we think, and in a couple months, then those resources will be focused on the sports that you watch on TV, and then primarily football and a little bit of basketball.
Yeah, you talked about the camaraderie in college golf. I'll get there in just a second. You touched on something, and I know that I've talked to players that have been recruited. I know we're not talking about any specific players. We can't do that unless they're committed to you or whatever. But what I find interesting is in women's golf, they can do the full scholarships because they don't have the football and the basketball. In men, what's a typical offer? 25%, 40%?
I think it would range between 30 and 70 would be on the high end for your average player. I mean, but Michigan State, all these schools now, it's $60,000 a year out of state. So, and $30,000 in state. So we're still asking these families to bear a significant financial burden compared to the big sports. So any dollar raised for them, as they're especially, they're not just going to school. They're playing elite summer events all summer long.
Oh
Those are
yeah.
requiring significant resources. the USGA and the NCAA have been great about opening up opportunities for these kids, so they're not at a more of a financial burden. But it's hard, right? I mean, I got a 12 and a 14-year-old. I'm gonna have to send them to college here soon,
Mhm.
and that we ask for a lot. So this has been a great era. I hope we continue to focus on the things that matter to all of us, though, is the relationship and the things we started talking about here today is this is a 40-year decision. I'm going to be a part of your life for 40 years, not just the 4-year plan here.
Yeah.
When we get back to that a little bit.
Uh, that's the thing. You alluded to this a question ago, Casey. You're, these guys are not getting full rides. So a lot of our audience may not know that. If you're in the college golf world and you're trying to get recruited, I think that you do. And so this money, any nil money you get, will offset some of the book costs, some of your tuition, maybe even, some other expenses that you need because when you're a college student, you still need soap and toothpaste. That doesn't come out of the air, that
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
I
thing.
mean, obviously we're lucky to provide them with world-class facilities and incredible travel and all those things and gear and clothes and all the stuff we do, medical equipment. But you're still, if you don't come from a family of great means, sending your kid to Michigan State from Ohio, is going to be a huge burden. As we talk about what happens with the NCAA settlement over the last couple of months, the hardest part is not just the finances, it's that each one of our teams is being asked to cut our rosters down to a certain number.
That's
Um,
exactly the question I was going to ask next. What is the number now? I think is it eight?
it's 9 here at Michigan State.
It's nine, and then what could it possibly go to?
Well, right now, currently, it's actually whatever the institution says, what could be more than 9. But starting July 1, we got to be to 9, or I guess August when we get back here.
Mhm.
But the SEC has decided they're only going to have 8. All the schools that opt into this settlement, which are Power Five schools, the big schools about, Power Four schools, Big Ten, Big 12, SEC, ACC,
Yep,
we're all going to have to be at 9. And just from what we know about at the highest level of college golf, 98 players will have to be cut from their team. And they'll have no place to go because it's not like they can transfer to another Power Five school. They're going to have to go down the chain, Division two, Division three,
right. And then some of
mid-major.
those student athletes are not going to have a place to play.
Absolutely.
Uh,
And most of these kids don't deserve this, right? They have worked hard, they've gotten great grades. It's just something that's been handed to us. I will tell you, outside of the many challenges, this has been one of the hardest years of my career because we're all thinking about that, the players and the coaches, that we're going to have to sever some of these relationships for nothing that anyone did.
yeah, that part is a shame. And is that all because of NIL? I mean, the money factors in that?
Yeah, the settlement, it's very complicated. I won't go into all out of it, but
Yeah,
basically to move to our NIL space internally, you create a significant cost burden on your department, upwards of $20 million. One of the ways they can help make up for that is by reducing roster sizes across all the sports. Um, we have 750 athletes or so on campus here at Michigan State. Next year, we're going to have significantly less, 10 to 15, maybe even 18% less athletes who get to compete here. Because we're trying
yeah.
to make up. I think there's a myth out there that these athletic departments are all flush and all have so much money. We have big sports that generate a lot of money, but the sports that don't generate a lot of money are being funded by the big sports. And that money, it's expensive, right? It's expensive to run a baseball team. It's expensive to run a softball team, tennis, whatever it is. So we're all kind of growing through this together. And I think I'm lucky to work at a place that values every athlete. But the reality is there's about 1.5 sports that have significant impact on all of this.
One question I wanted to get to, I'm going to table it until next time, is talking about when you are on the recruiting trail, places that you look, can student athletes, they're sending in videotapes and all that. Let's do that down the road because I
Sure.
want to end on something positive. NIL is kind of like nails on the chalkboard.
It is.
Uh, on a positive front, that Folds of Honor tournament that you host in September is one of the largest growing tournaments in the entire country, men or women, national television, ESPN, schools all over the country. I bet you they're calling you and want you to take their phone call.
Definitely. It's been my life's work for the last 4 years on a lot of levels. It was a brainstorm that I had here in my office with a friend of mine. And I called the Golf Coaches Association of America, said, I want to do this. Can you help me get in touch with Colonel Rooney? That was a Monday. On Thursday, we flew to see Colonel Rooney in Tulsa, and we started what we believe is the most meaningful event in college golf. The Golf Channel had it rated as all 3 days of our collegiate championship were in the top five of their most viewed events on the Golf Channel for college golf. And so
Wow.
it's had an impact on families. Family members of fallen soldiers and first responders, but also it's been uplifting to talk about. Golf has been complicated at the professional level for a few years now.
Yeah.
It's about God, country, family, golf, and bringing people together. And it's had a huge impact on our program. And I hope it's had a huge impact on the state of Michigan, which I care about dearly.
Yeah, Colonel Rooney has talked to the press at a couple of the events that I've been to, especially the Jack Run events and the Memorial, which I'm lucky enough to get to cover again this year. And Colonel Rooney and Nicholas, and they are both very proud of the event. I think with health wise, I think Nicholas is kind of shying off some events now, if you've
Sure.
seen him in the last few years. But this tournament has grown. I had the network wrong with ESPN. It's the Golf Channel that's doing this. But now we also have not only the men, we have the women that are playing.
Super passionate about having females included in this. I'm the father of 5 daughters as well, so I'm all about girl power. But more importantly, it's who Folds of Honor is, and it's who the game is. And to really have this event rise to the level that I think is hopefully going to change college golf forever. Our goal is always following Mr. Nicholas's lead, and he was the best. And we want to be the best out here, host the most meaningful, impactful college tournament in the country. And in order to do that, we need to have men and women playing in it.
A huge, huge event. And I haven't covered it. I kept saying I was going to go, and I have NASCAR commitments as well. But I
Sure.
know this year we're definitely going to go. And
Good.
we talked off air. I think that we have to have a couple of your players tell us about some of the holes that are very challenging, ones that you have to do. And it would be nice if Colonel Rooney or Mr. Nicholas, as we call him, we could maybe even, we could drone a hole, drone these couple of holes to show
Yeah.
how incredible this event is. I think you'd be up for it.
Oh, absolutely. Jack was with us last year.
He did come out.
He spent the whole day with the players, teams. We did a long drive competition with him. I was at the Masters in April with Coach Izzo, and Jack brought us into the clubhouse, and he just talked about this event. It's his life coming full circle from being a college golfer at Ohio State and going through his career, becoming an ambassador and for Folds, and he brought everything he kind of remembered about his college experience together. It's truly phenomenal. It's the best designed golf course I think he's ever done, and the feeling you get when these players stop right in the middle of the round, and put their hand on their heart and salute the flag. And it doesn't matter what country they're from. Most of these fields are 50% international.
Yeah.
They find it just as impressive as the American students and families. So please come out and check it out. And please tell your listeners you're going to see 5 or 10 tour players. The winner of our event gets an invite to the Rocket Mortgage Classic now. The
Yeah. I
individual
saw
winner.
that.
So huge deal for us. One of 3 events in college golf that has that opportunity. I think it's really, really special. And I'm so proud to have been a part of it since day one.
Well, it looks like, Casey, we're definitely going to talk here periodically, and it looks like you're living a life of legacy because this Folds of Honor, you could have kept your mouth shut. Instead, look at this is something that you're always going to be remembered for, but more importantly, it's something that will eventually have legs on its own. I mean,
Sure.
these as long as you're at Michigan State and afterward, people will always say, "Hey, I played in that tournament," or "I was at that tournament," and it was really, I don't know if it's a life-changing experience or not, but I think for the players that play in it, I think it certainly is.
Certainly something they're going to remember the rest of their careers and the rest of their lives. And so like I keep talking about, relationships change our lives. And Izzo says you got to leave your footprints in the sand, right? And that's one of my footprints. I hope that continues
Sure.
long beyond my time because it does truly impact people in a good way. We talked about NIL, we talked about all the stuff. This is the other side of that. We have a platform in college athletics to help improve people's lives and give them joy. And that's one of the responsibilities we should hold dear.
Wow, that's awesome. And with that, Casey Lubahn, Michigan State University head men's golf coach. And with that, go green.
Go White.
All
Thank you
right,
so
we'll
much for
talk
having
soon.
me. All right.
Yeah, we'll talk soon, Casey.
Thank you.